For today's video, we're gonna have a look at how to clean your sports clothes. We're gonna go through the entire process from start to finish. So the first thing that I want to say about sports clothes is that they are in fact pretty delicate, so we need to treat them pretty gentle here. The reason why is that they're made of synthetic fabrics that have a tendency to lose its elasticity, especially if you wash them with hot water and too strong detergent, too much detergent. The problem with the sports clothes and them being delicate is that they tend to smell a lot, right? So we do need to get rid of the smell here. So the first thing that I'm going to recommend that you do is that you turn all the sports clothes inside out. This way we are going to be able to expose a lot more of the areas that get in contact with your skin and cause sweat. One thing to note about this though is that if you have something that has a lot of stains on the outside, you may not want to turn it inside out, as it's going to be a lot harder to get the stains to be removed if they are inside out then. Building on this, what I want to do here before we start washing is that I want to put all the sports clothes, especially the ones that smell or are stained, in a white vinegar bath in a basin here. I recommend that you use something like 5% white vinegar, and you put 1 part of this to 4 parts of water. You don't need to use hot water at all. I actually have mine soaking behind here. Just wring them inside out first, otherwise you have to do it when they're wet, which is not as fun. So here you can see I have the clothes soaking, smells of vinegar. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to leave it in here for about half an hour. The white vinegar is going to help eliminate a lot of the odor. At the same time, it's also going to help break down some of the stains, the smells. It's going to loosen it up so that we can use a more gentle cycle on our washing machine once we get to that part. All right, so it has been about half an hour since I put the stuff in the basin now. So the next thing that we want to do is move it from the basin to the actual washer. One more tip I want to give you here before we get started moving them over to the washing machine is to use mesh bags. Now this is optional, but it is going to help further protect your delicate sports clothes here, as it kind of gives it another layer of protection. Another big benefit of these mesh bags is that once you put the clothes inside them, they're not going to move around as much and get all tangled up into a mess. The mesh bag is going to help them stay more in place inside the bag. So this is going to help reduce piling. Mesh bags are great, but it's not essential at all. So let's move all the clothes from the basin here over to the washing machine. And I'm going to also add in some more dirty sports clothes. One of them is actually full of sawdust. So that's going to be fun. For the ones in the basin, it's optional, but you can rinse out some of the vinegar, as it is acidic, and generally you will find that your washing powder is alkaline. So they don't really mix that well, but this is a very weak mixture of vinegar, so I think it's fine. Just give it a little bit of a rinse just in case. Tossing that in there as well. And we are ready to close up the washing machine here. So let's turn on the washing machine, and we're going to load it up with our detergent. Now you don't need to use any harsh detergent here at all. Try to stick with something a little bit more gentle, a mild detergent. I'm gonna add a link to one that you could get if you don't have one in the video description here. So let me just load up here. Usually you can read on the back of the detergent how much you need to use. I like to undershoot this a little bit because I think it's too much. So I'm just gonna load it into the wash tray here on this front loader. If you have a top loader and you don't have a wash tray, you can load it directly into your drum. We are going to skip over fabric softener for sports clothes. The reason why is that it has a bad effect on the elasticity in the fabrics, and it will actually damage the sports clothes over time. Also, since these are synthetic clothes, it can actually build up a little bit of a layer on top of the sports clothes, and that's going to lock in some of the smell, and it may not clean the clothes properly. They may start to smell a lot quicker. So definitely skip over the fabric softener. If you insist on using something, again, you can go with a white vinegar. That is a fantastic option. It has a lot of the same softenings as fabric softener, but just remember to put it in the fabric softener tray. Never mix it with your detergent, as one is acidic while one is alkaline, and those two don't mix. It's just going to end up with kind of a oily mess on your clothes in that case. Either way, let's close up the tray here. So for the cycle that you want to pick, if you have a cycle on your washer that's called sports, that's going to work very well. Like I said, these are delicate clothes, so that means you need a low spin cycle, you need a low temperature, and it's usually a pretty short cycle as well. This is to preserve the clothes. If you don't have a dedicated sports cycle on your washer, what you can do instead is use something like delicates. If you have that, that's gonna mimic a lot of the same settings. If you're able to turn down the temperature further, I would say do that. And if you don't even have a delicate cycle, what you can do is just turn down the temperature as much as you can here. You can even do a cold water wash if you're so inclined. I can't do it here because it's winter now and that's just gonna be too cold water. I'm gonna turn down the spin cycle as well here to, let's say, 800, and I'm gonna reduce the time here, and I am going to go ahead and start the wash. After this, we are going to go ahead and look at how to dry the clothes. So before we pop it into the dryer here, I wanted to quickly mention, it is best if you hang dry, but I know most of us don't always have time to hang dry the clothes. Should you be interested in hang drying it, drying rack style, I have made a video on that in the past that I'm going to link here, but let's get to drying. So if you remember, we put some of the clothes in mesh bags. At this point, we're going to take them out of those. I forgot to mention earlier that you should zipper up everything before you wash it. Now we have everything into the dryer. So I'm going to close up the door here and I'm going to start to dry. Now one thing that is very important here is that you use one of the lower settings. On my dryer I have a setting called synthetic and I have another one called sports. So if you have a sports setting, obviously that's going to be great. It's going to be low heat and it's going to be very gentle on your clothes. If you don't have a sports or synthetic setting, what you can do instead is turn the heat all the way down. That is the most important part here. So I'm just going to start it up here. And the clothes will be nice and protected in there. Once they are done tumbling, you can pull them back out the correct way, fold them up. I've done videos on that in the past. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm gonna make a bunch more for you here coming up. And yeah, see you in the next one.